Hey friends, it's fall, and in the south that means the first frost is still a few weeks away. If you have a Bermuda lawn and you're not overseeding, that means your lawn is going to go dormant and for winter be completely brown. But there are still a few steps you can take now to ensure next year when your lawn comes back, it'll be the envy of the neighborhood. What are those steps? Stick around and find out. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Mike, and this is Mike's Home and Garden. Welcome to another video. And if this is your first time here and you want to learn about lawn care, boost your curb appeal, and do other home improvement projects, start now by subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss out. As I mentioned in the introduction, here in the South, we're still a few weeks at least away from our first frost. With that first frost, if you have a Bermuda lawn like I do, that frost brings the lawn into dormancy. So it'll go from green to brown, it'll stop growing. And for you as the homeowner taking care of your lawn, that means your job maintaining the lawn stops. For the next 5 to 6 months, there's really not much you need to do other than wait for weather to warm up, the lawn to turn green again, and then you can resume your normal schedule of fertilizing, watering, mowing, things like that. But right now, before that first frost, while the lawn's still green, but not quite growing as fast as it was during the summer, there are a few steps that you can take to ensure that next year when the lawn wakes up, it'll wake up healthy and it'll be the envy of the neighborhood. Now, these steps I'm talking about can be broken down into 4 categories, so make sure you stick around all the way to the end because I don't want you to miss any of them. Each one's important, and each one will ensure your lawn next year is going to look great. Before we get into the steps you need to take to ensure now, before the first frost, your lawn is ready to go for next season when it comes out of dormancy, I want to talk a little bit about Bermuda grass. Bermuda is a warm season turf, and with that, it means that during the summer, it really thrives. It likes the heat. It likes the humidity, and with a little bit of water and a little bit of fertilizer, it takes off. They call it an alpha grass for a reason. It grows aggressively, and with a little bit of attention, can really fill a yard in during the warm season. But as we transition from summer to fall and temperatures start going a little cooler, Bermuda starts slowing down. And with that slowdown, it's time to start taking the steps needed to ensure once that first frost hits and it goes into dormancy, it has everything it needs for next year once it wakes back up to become a healthy green lawn again so you can have that lawn that's the envy of the neighborhood. Now, as it goes into dormancy and turns brown, and I mean brown, Pete from GCI Turf puts it great, it's paper sack brown, and there's nothing you need to do to the lawn at that point. No fertilizer, no water, no mowing. And if you're a homeowner that's looking to save time and save money, these next 5 to 6 months are your time to shine because your wallet and your schedule are going to thank you. You're not going to have to mow and you're not going to have to shell out money every month for fertilizer and other lawn products to take care of the lawn. You may choose to overseed, and that's a pretty common practice in this part of the country, to put a cool season grass down over the Bermuda. That way during fall, winter, and early spring, you have a green lawn. But with that also comes the responsibility of regular fertilizer, regular watering, and regular mowing that some folks may want to save time and not have to do during the winter. And that's totally fine, and I definitely get it. Now this year, as you see in the description, I put a link and I'll put it up here as well. I'm overseeding my lawn with Kentucky bluegrass, and I want to have a green lawn all year round. But I do recognize the fact that that requires a lot of time and attention that some people understandably don't want to put forward. So if you're okay with a brown lawn for the next 5 to 6 months when it goes into dormancy, it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, but take the steps now that we're going to talk about before that first frost to ensure when the lawn wakes up next summer, it's going to be green, healthy, and the envy of your neighborhood. Now, the first thing you want to pay attention to when we're approaching this first frost as fall starts to rev up is your mowing. And with mowing, I mean the height of cut of your mow. Now, Bermuda likes to be cut short, and typically for myself, using a rotary mower, I'd keep it around 2 inches. I know many people who cut it even lower than that, even below an inch with some real mowers. But right now, you want to start paying attention to that height of cut and raising it. So for me, for example, if I were to get my lawn ready for dormancy, cutting my lawn at 2 inches like I am through the summer, I would raise it to 3 to 3.5 inches, a full inch or so more than what I typically do. If you're cutting it shorter, say around an inch, raise it to 2 to 2.5 inches. And there's a reason for this. What that's going to do is allow the lawn to be taller which gives the root zone more protection during the cold winter months. Basically, it provides an insulation barrier with the soil so that way the roots don't get damaged by any of the frost or snow or ice or anything like that that could come through during the winter. Next spring, you would scalp it down as low as it'll go and then let the lawn grow to the height of cut you want to keep it at for the summer. But for now, raise your height of cut at least 1 to 1.5 inches to ensure the root zone has that protection from the winter elements. Now that we have the height of cut established at 1 to 1.5 inches more than what we commonly mow it at during the summer, to give the roots that protection as the first frost approaches, we need to talk about fertilizer. We should have put our last nitrogen heavy fertilizer application down late July, early August. Now during the summer, that should be at least once or even bi-monthly occurrence, putting down a nitrogen heavy fertilizer. But at this point, we should be done putting those regular applications down. And what we need to look at now before the first frost is a balanced fertilizer, something like a 10-10-10. Synthetic or organic, that doesn't really matter. What we're looking for is that balanced fertilizer. And that's going to ensure that the roots get nutrients to really have everything they need to go into dormancy. And then when it wakes up next year, have that availability of the nutrients it needs to wake up. Pay attention to when the first frost is, and that can vary from state to state, region to region. But I mean, we're talking about the South, and if you're in the deep South, you have a ways to go. But here, like for example, in North Carolina, we probably have another half a month before the first frost. So, in next week or so, if you haven't overseeded and you're going to let the lawn go dormant, start thinking about picking up a balanced fertilizer and putting that on the lawn at the bag rate. Just read the label and put it down based on the spreader settings it suggests, and that'll be perfect to set the lawn up for next year. So now that we've talked about fertilizer, I want to talk about weed control. You may have heard this term before on other channels, pre-emergent. You have to put a pre-emergent down before that first frost date. Now what a pre-emergent does, and it doesn't stop weeds from growing. Weed seeds will still germinate, but what pre-emergent does is it puts a barrier in the soil to prevent the weed seeds, once they germinate, from taking root and establishing. So when that little root comes out of the seed and tries to go down in the ground, it gets killed off. So that way the weed doesn't establish and grow in the lawn. Now, pre-emergent you have to put down if you don't want weeds in the lawn. And believe it or not, there are winter and early spring weeds that putting a pre-emergent down now in fall will prevent from establishing. So you want to put something down as you're doing the fertilizer application as well. The same day, go out there with the spreader, put the fertilizer down, come back, fill it up with the pre-emergent, and go back out and put that down as well. And what I'm saying is using a granular pre-emergent is a fine thing to do. I mean, personally, I would recommend something like the Spectracide Weed Stop, but then also Sunnyland and Lesco, which I believe you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot, both have great pre-emergents as well. You'll probably see on the bag something like a crabgrass killer type title, and it would be like a 007 fertilizer rating or something like that. But any of these types of products work great, and the granular method of application is super easy. You just put it in the spreader, just like you do with the fertilizer, and go back and forth in a grid pattern in the lawn, and you'll be all set to go. There are some liquid applications as well. Prodiamine as a chemical is a very popular one, and you may have heard that one talked about before. If you want to make the investment to get the prodiamine concentrate, you'll need to have a spray can or a backpack sprayer to mix it with the water to ensure the application rate is right. So it might be a little bit more work, a little bit more effort to ensure that you're getting it down correctly. Whereas with the granular options, you just put it in the spreader, adjust the setting based on the label, and go. It's really up to you what kind of control and what kind of effort you want to have with this application, but you have to use a pre-emergent. It's key to ensuring that during the winter and early spring, those weeds during that time don't establish. I like the Lesco and Sunnyland products particularly because the bang for the buck. I think it's like $25 for the bag. It's like a 50-pound bag. It should cover between 12 and 20,000 square feet, I think, depending on which brand or which product you get. So it's a really great cost-effective way to get a pre-emergent down on the lawn. So do some research on your own and get something that budget-wise will fit for you. But either one, if you're looking at the Spectracide or the Sunnyland or the Lesco, or you may even see another brand out there, as long as it says crabgrass preventer or pre-emergent, it's going to be the type of product you need for this scenario, and put that down on the lawn before that first frost. So let's talk about watering for a moment. Now, during the summer, if it's not raining, you should be watering the lawn at least once a week, if not more, to ensure it has the water it needs to continue to grow and be healthy. But at this point of the year, you can stop doing that. And it's great news for the water bill. But I mean, right now, for example, here it's cloudy and it had just rained for a couple of days. It's probably going to rain again tomorrow. I don't need to water my lawn. Well, I need to water my lawn because I'm choosing to overseed. But if you're not, you're going to let it go dormant. You don't need to keep doing that. You can stop watering the lawn, but there's one time you do want to water the lawn before you call it quits for good, and that's after you put your fertilizer and pre-emergent down. You want to ensure that those products are watered in to establish the protective pre-emergent barrier in the soil and to get the fertilizer down in the soil so the roots can take it into the plant. But once you do that, you can forget about watering until next year. You don't need to do it, especially once the lawn goes dormant. You don't need to water brown grass. It's not going to do anything other than make mud. With a Bermuda lawn, if you choose not to overseed, once that first frost comes for the next 5 to 6 months, you're going to save tons of time and tons of money. Follow these steps now before the first frost of raising the height of cut, putting down a balanced fertilizer, putting down a pre-emergent, watering it in, and then forgetting about it. And you will be all set for next year to have a lawn that's the envy of the neighborhood. Drop a comment below if you have any questions or if you have any practices that you do to your lawn to get it ready for winter that I didn't talk about today. I'd love to hear what you do and find out how it works for you. So we'll see you on the next video.